a little bit of a semi-lockdown. Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for your time very much. I understand you are extremely busy. So I try to do it
Oh no, that's
short.
okay. Mm,
So
mm.
no real questionnaire, but I can fill it in manually for you maybe. I can just do like open it and fill it in. So basically, today what I'm discuss is I my research is about performance management in the tech and in particular engineering firm or in the kind of tech really. And try to understand how organization in particular tech related and perform for their performance management. So I have done extensive data collection and come up with a nine of the critical model, if you like, of how the tech company have run. And I would like to, you can see in here, oh, maybe you cannot see my screen, right? Sorry, I
Yeah,
apologize.
I yeah, I don't see anything yet.
Yeah, I will share screen now. I think now you should see my screen, right? Apologies.
No worries.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I
Okay,
can. I
perfect.
can see.
Yeah, so you can see that in tech, there are nine conceptual modules based on all the participant in tech that share with me their perspective. And namely, we can see like talent management within any organization, and of course, the sales, funding, finance, and
Mm,
marketing. And we will see how much time we have today, and we try to focus on what is your expertise, which is sales and marketing, and various things in tech. I see you have received several awards, which is fantastic.
mm.
And we can appreciate so much to get your view here. I would like to
Oh, okay,
start.
sure.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
like to
So,
start.
yeah,
Sorry.
I just want to confirm that I don't really need to go through all this because I think some of them are probably not my area of expertise.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay. Okay.
noticed as
Yeah. I just
well.
don't want to skew. Yeah, I just don't want to skew to your research or your outcome
Yeah.
because some of the areas are not what I
Yes.
can
Yeah.
contribute to.
Yeah. So I think the talent management, it is related to any organization, and as your high position as director, you you must manage some team, and so I'm
Mm,
gonna go first with the talent management. And if may I ask you, like, saying that you have a sales team, you employ people and stuff, what do you think that their career motivation when they come to your company or your team? If I ask you top three saying what they are their career motivation and what motivate them to do a great job, what do you think they are for a few
yeah, so maybe just want to set a couple of things. First, I think all these questions that I'm answered is going to be my personal opinion
yes,
from
certainly.
my past experience.
Yes.
Um, okay, so yes, I'm currently managing a team, but I'm going to soon move into a role where my team is actually not physically with me, but it's going to be like across a couple of different regions. So the dynamic is going to be different. But I can still give you, what I think,
Yeah.
because I do, get involved in hiring, and I have direct reports that just roll up to me. So coming back to your questions in terms of, what is firstly their motivation. Um, well, I think in sales, um, it's the drive. I would probably say the driver. One of them is it's monetary. It's definitely one of those.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think most of the salespeople also want to be acknowledged, doing good job,
Yeah.
be able to create that impact, drive a certain goals, to their client. So I think a part of the monetary, I think it's also the drive that they want, that they have in them, that they wanted to kind of like, how do I say this?
The fulfillment of what they do each day for their job. They want to feel fulfilled
Yeah,
and contribute
correct.
something. Yeah.
Correct. I think they want to contribute. I think sales is something that you go out there, you win deals, you bring back, you are the rainmaker. So they want to have that fulfillment as well. So that's probably the traits of the salespeople because I'm from sales. Yeah. Yeah, so those are the two I would say, key drivers. I think the third one is we see people cross sectors. Some people that came from software background, they want to come into, managed service providers background, and vice versa. Because IT is quite wide. We've got lots of branches in terms of, things that we do in IT itself. So we see people moving around. Yeah. Between different sectors and different area of expertise. I think, yeah.
That perspective is kind of the challenge that the employee or the team can gain within the company that motivate them to work. Am I right saying that?
Yeah, it is also how the company, how they see the company can motivate them, how they see the company can develop their core competencies. Because in IT, we always need to keep ourselves, up with the current trend. So, there is a evolution, cyclical. Yeah, so correct. So we kind of like pace ourselves. Maybe certain sales role may not be that challenging anymore. You want to get ourselves into maybe cloud, maybe AI, that sort of things.
Accurate if I'm be honest that based on several executive in big and small company including tech and surely that quite clearly that innovation technology does motivate people in tech to drive their job to the highest because they feel excited to do their work and that is very
Yep.
precise what you mentioned and I'd like to share with
Yep.
you here if you can see I'm talking about the career motivation that I have gathered nearly 60 senior manager director, including the senior engineer, just to see their view in tech, what motivates them to work. And you can see that this the highest item that motivate employee is actually a professional development opportunity. So they all so these the career motivation factor it mostly come from engineer and people who actually want to get a career in tech and I asked them like what do they want the most and ranking top 10 for their career motivation and professional development opportunity is what they aim at the most. I mean, they want to grow their career. They want to work with a company where they can see their career path and opportunity. And I think you are very right saying about innovation, technology, and how the job can challenge them, right? And of course, what you mentioned, financial reward and that kind of thing is sort of necessary in a way. So, and do you quite agree with this sort of career motivation based on your experience that
Yeah, I think it is quite. I mean, at least from my personal experience, when I look at people in the sales career, um, it's pretty spot on. I would think.
yeah, yeah, because I'm get to exactly all the engineer or graduate who are aiming their career. So I'm quite pleased with that. And then if you see that in terms of talent management, and you might see that align with your team and it could be beneficial some that you will see that 76% of employees are not engaged or actively disengaged with that job with quite a serious issue here. Do you see this sort of is it like a challenge in your organization or your experience as well in terms of like how to engage your employee or staff to drive and get success to the company?
Um, I think for sales it might be a bit of an exception. I can't speak for the rest of the other division or some of my other colleagues in other places, but I think salespeople are pretty much a self motivator. They need to be engaged. They need to be on top of the work that they are undertaking. So they need to be engaged with the client, they need to be engaged with the internal resources. So I actually don't really see that. But
Right.
I might want to probably say that I'm not sure if this is within a certain period of time.
Right.
Um, I think within this COVID period of time, for the past 18 months, it does have, presented a little bit of a challenge,
Yeah.
um, where the face-to-face interactions, are slightly lesser. You do things a little bit more remotely. So maybe not so much of disengage,
Yeah.
but I think it's just, how we're going to manage them, how they know what we're doing, how we know what they're doing. And I think it's probably, I would say, because we don't see each other that often in the office. I mean, sales generally we don't see each other, but we still see, um, uh, when we work from office, we still kind of like bump into each other. But now everything is done remotely.
Yeah.
Everything is done on WhatsApp. Yeah. So I personally, I don't think there are any disengagement. I think it's how we're going to manage. Working remotely. I think. Yeah.
Understand.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we could just have a bit of feeling here in terms of talent management, I have for the
Mm,
participant of the director and manager, including the senior engineer of the what are the top 5 KPI of talent management if you're talking like like employee satisfaction and retention, revenue per employee, professional training, and cost to hire. And if you don't mind, I can fill in quite quickly what you think is the highest, is the most important KPI, if you like. It of course there's no right or wrong for the answer. It's just in your perspective, what you think is the most
mm.
important.
Uh, in general, or
Yeah,
are you referring to the salespeople?
or just in general, or in particular, sales people as well. No problem.
Um, I, I think the highest, I mean, for me, employer retention rates in general, I think it's the fulfillment. Really, I feel that, are you fulfilled? Are you
Yeah,
challenged in the right way? Are you, being, uh, um, how do I say this? Are you being groomed in the right way? So I think it's fulfillment.
yeah. So
That's definitely for
retention,
me.
right? You mean
Yeah,
the employee retention at the first, at the highest, most important.
yeah,
Yeah, and then
correct.
you want to go with the, we have four rank here, employee satisfaction and the cost to hire them, and as a manager and director, what you consider the most when you monitor the key performance in managing the team,
Mm,
and also,
I, so how do I rate this? So if I think employee satisfaction is not so important,
we can,
I will put at number 5, or is that number 4? Or how do we do
yeah, so
this?
basically, like you might think the retention rate the most important, second most important maybe the employee satisfaction, and the third important maybe the revenue for employee. So we have in unique number for each one of these. So maybe we look at what the second most important in this thing. For example, do you think satisfaction is the second rank of the highest important in the managing the team in talent management?
Mm, okay.
Yeah,
Um, I would say yes. Employee satisfaction is number 2, and I think professional training spent, is number
yeah.
3. Yeah. Cost to hire. I'm not quite sure how do I interpret that.
For example, you might have to pay for recruitment agency, you have to pay for adverts and time interview until you get a staff within your team. It will be a cost contribute to that for an employee.
Yeah, I am not quite sure. I mean, the cost to hire, because I'm not in the HR team,
Yeah,
so I'm not being made privy to that. Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
revenue per employee is also,
it's quite good in
uh,
sale, right? Or you want to put it number 4 here?
yeah, I would probably put it number in between 3 and 4. I think it is important that
it have to be a big number, like it will be 1 to 5 that it's ranking.
mm,
So and then the last
yeah,
one
I
will
think
be
number five would be cost to hire.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and here, if you see in the top right here that uh, over 50 senior position, they consider similar to your rank, like retention, satisfaction, and
Mm,
it also professional training and revenue, and the cost to hire they consider the least important when it comes to managing um, the
yeah.
team here. So, in your
Okay.
perspective, is it because of the reason of the retention and satisfaction are the highest, the most important? What's the reason behind that?
Mm, for the retention and satisfaction, you're saying?
Yeah, yes. And why do you think these are the most important when it comes to hiring?
Uh, well, because we are the one that funding the customer out there. So the better the retention rates are, the less chances that we're changing hand,
Yeah,
and the better the customers, kind of like that relationship that we know our customers in and out. Instead of when you change hand, always there will always be a loss of domain, loss of knowledge, right?
yes.
Because the transfer, yeah, from one person to another.
To understand that aspect, do you mean that the cost per employee, if we cannot retain
Mm,
them, it's not just the cost what we pay, but it's everything, including knowledge and time that we spend per employee, isn't it? That is the cost of spending on them, so that retention is the most important, isn't it?
yeah, correct. Because we spend, a lot of, we spend to make sure that our team, our salespeople, is developed.
Yeah.
They learned. They're good in what they're doing. So yeah, so with all that thing that we are investing in the team, we definitely want to retain them as well. So I think it works. It works both ways.
Yes, that is very clear. The next one I would like to talk about what your expertise is about is in sale, right? I can see that you have great experience in sale. So I come up with like a rich picture of how the sale look like, and like to get your view of you talking about intake. It starts from like you have to develop the sales strategy and plan, identify sales channel, who are your customer, develop training for salespeople, and launch your product, and provide ongoing sales activity, and monitor the sales performance and things like that. Oh, sorry.
Hi,
Sorry.
Fawn. I actually lost you.
Okay. Can you get?
Yeah,
I can see you again.
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can you
I
see
think you were
yourself?
saying about the sales or something like
Yeah.
that.
You can see here that
I can see your slide. Yeah, I can still see your slide.
so this is like just a big picture that I got from like people in tech, how they see the sale process of developing in tech. If you have a cycle in developing sale, identify channel and customer, developing training for
Mm,
sale personnel, launch your product of course in tech, and ongoing sale activity. You can plan for sale, and of course very important, monitor the sale performance. And do you think this kind of picture is quite alive to what you are doing as the experience that you have done?
yes, I think they are pretty aligned. Probably to the exception of launch the product. From my personal experience, I haven't really been involved in launching any
Yeah,
products.
understand.
Yeah.
So in the sales perspective, isn't it? And if you don't mind, I'd like to go back again for the sales perspective as well. I got in the top right here, how
Mm,
people in tech consider what the key top 5 key performance indicator um, on that.
okay.
Yeah. So would you mind if I get your view on the top 5? Yeah. If
Sure,
you
sure.
yeah,
I can. Let me see which one is number one. I think customer retention is definitely number one.
the retention, right? Okay.
Yeah. Satisfaction is also number, yeah,
Then
number. Yeah, I think customer satisfaction is number one, customer retention is number two, and then your revenue growth rate is
Oh,
number
so
three, and profits is number
retention
four.
is number
Yeah.
two, right? So satisfaction is
Mm,
number one.
yeah. And then, retention is number two, profits is number three,
Yes.
and then maybe revenue growth rate, with profits it will come.
Yeah.
So it's going to be number four.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And cost per sale,
Yeah.
I think it would be number five. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's quite aligned with the rest of people in tech that of course customer satisfaction is the most important factor. Um, so you can see in here that it's aligned with what you are saying. Do you think that the way in which that as running a company and running a department, and you can see that the customer satisfaction is actually more important than profit. Is that the mindset that the good sales people or in organization should have, right, to drive the company to the success?
Mm. Yeah, I think profit is always important. I think it's just a hygiene factor. But you're not going to get the profits if your customer are not satisfied and you're not able to retain them. Yeah, so to me, actually, I think profit is more like the underlying that anything that you do, I think it has to be, it does have to carry a certain profit.
Yeah,
But the customer satisfaction is definitely, I think, at least for the salespeople, it's number one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And may I ask your view as well that the perspective of KPI in short and long term, if you like, that people talk about like net profit, like how much profit you get, and then net profit per employee, or the growth rate and organic growth and legitimate profit. So I categorize all of these in terms of the 5E. So we're talking about net profit, how much you get for that profit. So it being efficacy, and then efficiency is like net profit per employee because you can add more people to get more and more profit. But the bottom line is what how efficient it is for that staff and employee, right? So the net profit per employee will define a bigger picture, if you like. And the growth rate, we really see your effectiveness of how you run, in your case the sale, for example, and the elegance of what you do, the point, and then your sales team actually starting getting the organic growth. I mean, not just that you knock the door every time, but the customer come back to your sales organically, and most importantly as well, legitimate profit. I mentioned on this in the ethic aspect because of we've seen either in big and small company, the ethical is always a big part and a big impact of any department and organization. I'm wondering that when you manage your company, and do you have this mindset of short and long term in terms of sales managing as well?
Yes, yes, definitely. We have short, mid, and long term strategy. I think it's important that we balance. Um, I think every solution, for the salespeople when we go out, it requires a systematic and a long term plan. But yet, there are many stakeholders in the organizations that also look and measure us in the shorter term.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to take the telescopic view as well as the short term perspective, and kind of like have that two elements in your business plan so that you don't lose sight, in terms of your long term, because it's going to be your guiding principle. But at the same time, you also need to do what, will, get you to close your, because we are measured by numbers, right? So on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, we still need to deliver that numbers. Yeah. So I think it is managing that view, the shorter and the long term view. I think it is important at the same time.
Yes, and if I can pick your brain in this sale area, and the challenge in sale I have picked up and based on the case study that I have conduct, and different perspective of the other manager and director in tech as well. And if you give a few of the challenge in sale, what sort of challenge you pick up in the top three? And I have in here just to share with you, but of course, you are very much more than welcome to share your view and give different perspective if you have.
Yeah, sure. So we are looking at
Yeah,
which table now?
in the top, in the bottom right here, you will see the sales challenge, right? That in the
Mm,
sales challenge, and you will see that a lot of people say it's very difficult to gain a quality lead, and then how we can stand out from competitor, and
mm,
also in tech, in particular in your field, talking about cloud, AI, and the digital platform. There is a lot of rich and extensive R&D, isn't it?
yeah,
And you have to develop the proposal and raising funds to build up a platform and need a lot of finance. So all of these are sort of a challenge in sales. So I'd like to get your view, what sort of the
yeah.
perspective that you have based on your experience.
Yeah, I think every part of this sales challenges actually is very close to my heart.
Yeah,
Maybe one of the items that is probably less would be the R&D.
yeah,
Again, yeah, we actually don't get involved a lot in the R&D. But I know that there are certain organizations that do a lot of R&D and customizations for the customers, and I think this probably applied to them. Um, yeah, all the other points that you have on the deck for the sales challenges, yes, I actually definitely see that.
yeah. And even so, the please may I ask that in your company, because you work in a big corporation, assuming that your company running the tech, assume that the R&D department will involve extensively on the development how to make your product stand out as well, right?
Mm, correct.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's probably by the product team.
Yeah, so it will be a different
Yeah,
department that look into that,
yeah,
certainly. Yeah, that's great.
correct.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'd like to go next of very similar. We're talking about sales, and before it come to sale, I assume that you need to do a marketing. In particular, your company is big corporation, the marketing budget is visible because for some startup, the marketing department or sale or funding is very minimal, if you like. So if you can see the marketing and PR, which supposed to be a process before sale, isn't it? So if I may, I ask like uh, a top five, the same one that what do you think is the most important? And I have some example here from the participant in tech. What do they think the top five in the top right here? And I have it here for you. If you don't mind, could I get your view on what are the top five ranking in terms of marketing KPI, please?
I'm not sure if my view is the correct one, but I can share with you how I look at marketing. But because I don't really do or get involved a lot in the marketing area, I think to me, the return of investment. I mean, it really depends on the objective when you do that event, right? It is just for awareness. Is it to turn into the lead? So if it is to turn into the lead, then I think marketing ROI is number one.
Yes.
If it is for product and brand awareness, then I would say that that's number two. Yeah, and um, uh, number three is customer retention, because when you see the brand is still alive and kicking, it does actually have the impact to the customers that I'm still with the right company. And then it will be market share for number four. Yeah. And then I guess maybe, customer acquisitions will come at the last.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. So, and in the same way, of course, that I may not get an accurate because it's not direct in your career daily managing in your fields in terms of PR and marketing. I believe you must involve to some degree, but not heavily managing in sale, in
Yeah.
marketing and PR, isn't it? And
Yeah.
if I like to ask just a brief picture of if you can see how the PR and marketing run in your big corporation, would you see this kind of like a brief overview, big picture of PR and marketing, or probably
Mm,
they develop the PR and select marketing vehicle and advertising and visit the customer, of course, including the sale. Do you think that is quite accurate and reflect the PR and marketing in a big corporation like yourself in tech?
uh, yeah, unfortunately, I probably can't comment much on this part though because I don't really get involved in the running of the marketing.
Right, understand.
Uh, yeah, because when I came in, marketing is just one of my providers. Yeah, so I actually don't see. Yeah, well, they help me with the sales collateral. They help me with some of the marketing events. But PR announcement, advertising, I think that's probably beyond my dealing
Yeah.
with the marketing. Mm.
And in terms of the marketing, the challenge in marketing, would you have a view of that, or is a bit out of your expertise on the if you want to see what the challenge in marketing, it could be related to sale because the marketing is the drive for the sale, isn't it?
Yeah, this is also not something that I can comment because
Understand.
I don't really know, yeah, whether they can quantify the ROI and so on and so forth. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so in big corporation like your company, you have a separate department that deal with the marketing and PR
Yeah,
separately, like
yeah,
okay, understand.
correct,
Yeah,
correct.
because in a smaller company, they normally marketing and sale, they sometimes and
All
most of the
together.
time are in the same
Yeah,
unit, isn't it? But I can
yeah,
understand.
correct,
Yeah.
correct,
And in
correct.
that case, if you don't mind, I'd like to go to the risk management. And I think the risk management is not precisely attached to each specific department, if you like, because every management department, you should consider the risk associated with your operation. This is in your case, like sale. Um, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the risk management, do you like when you do a sale, do you also raising or meeting with the sales team? You say, hey, we have to discuss about the risk management and how to monitor the status and mitigate the risk and that kind of thing. Would you consider the risk management as part of individual department, in particular of what department that you are doing in sales?
Yeah, I think generally everyone in the company, is involved in managing the risk for the
Yeah,
organization. So, it's dealing it starts from dealing with the vendors, our suppliers, our customers. So actually, when it comes to risk management, every contract, before we even sign any particular contract, and that is a practice,
yeah,
in many organizations that it has to be run and vetted through by the legal,
yeah,
making sure that the company's interest is still protected. At the same time, we also don't want to be so one-sided. We also want to make sure that whatever contract that we do, it covers and protect both parties, us and our client as well. Yeah.
yeah. And if you don't mind, I can pick up your brain like a top five of the risk associated with,
Mm,
let's suppose in this case, in sale, in your expertise, what would you think of the highest uh, top rank for the risk management? Saying we have the severity of the risk and mitigation status and risk assessment, speed, effectiveness of solution, and cost incurred due to the risk or the cost of risk management.
I think severity of the risk is definitely one, and then it's followed by the risk assessment
Yeah,
and
like
what
the
can we
severity of the
mitigate if
risk.
we're taking, yeah,
Understand.
and what are we going to do if we're taking the risk? I think that's very, very key. And then I think costs incurred due to the risk and cost of the risk management, the three and the four. Yeah, I think the five. I'm not quite sure what is that. How does it relate to this to the risk? So I would put it as the last one.
Oh, the speed and effectiveness of solution, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
So the speed and effectiveness of solution is like if you plan for the risk, you assess risk management, you have this how effective of mitigation plan and solution toward that risk assessment, like how well you manage to um, mitigate and avoid or minimize and
Mm,
the risk.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Would you still
understand.
consider this as a fine?
Yeah, because I think the other items are still probably higher in the
Yeah,
ranking.
understand.
Yeah,
And
the way I look at it.
yeah.
Mm.
So I can see that I'm showing in here, right? Just a brief, like a very brief overview. Like when you consider the risk in your departments, you do like already create and review, the SWOT analysis. The strength of your team, the weakness, the opportunity, the threat, and pretty much the sale is a key driver in the company. And you estimate what risk and probability and its impact, and you plan as
Yeah,
well how to mitigate
I
the
do that.
risk. Yeah.
Correct.
And you
Yeah.
continuously monitor and control the risk assessment that you have conduct, and then you evaluate the cost of risk incur that you can arrange accordingly. Is that picture quite accurate in your view that you practically apply in your organization?
Um. mm, Let me see. Okay, a couple of items here are really done to be done by the risk management team, I
Yeah.
think. But as I was sharing earlier, that everybody in the organizations need to know what is the risk involved in anything that they do.
Yeah.
So for sales, the risk that we always look out for is really our solution,
Yeah.
and how does it impact the organizations and the terms and conditions of the contract. If we receive and if we accept the terms,
Mhm.
what will be the risk? That is levied on the companies. Yeah, so from that perspective, I think we definitely plan. We definitely need to look at what are the risks that we can accept and what are the risks that we need to mitigate. So yes, but we're not. How do I say this? We're not the one that is coming up with the risk management policy. So we're just the user. Yeah, we're the users, and we just need to make sure that we understand so that we do not do anything that will harm the organizations in any other way.
Yeah, understand. So I'd like to just point out one thing that you probably in the news and from in the past until recently, that you're talking about the risk of ethic, and you're talking about ethic and
Mm,
risk management, and you will see that there is the risk that you can define, and there is unexpected risk, if you like. That I
yeah.
believe Theranos is the blood test startup that once value themselves as much as 7 billion or 7 or 9 billion,
Mm,
and then it's collapsed overnight with the fraud
yeah.
of unethical of Elizabeth Home, which are actually on the trial at the
Oh yeah.
moment. Yeah,
Correct. I
and
saw that and I read that case.
yes, and Enron, if you like, the biggest scandal in the U.S. history, and how the company, you can see the stock price, it just crashed from the highest to zero and just overnight there. And very similar to Enron, it happened in Europe. It wild as well, that why the financial and the sale isn't as that what they said. Everything is hidden, everything is manipulated, and
Mm.
unethical. Would you consider the ethical aspect is important in managing in an organization as well?
In managing the sales,
Yeah, I mean,
ethic, yeah, absolutely. Ethical and ethics definitely has to be in everybody's DNA. You go out and you talk to the client. What you say actually represent your company's view. And when you say that, okay, this solution is going to work, is it ethical? Can you give that guarantee? I think yes, it's very, very big. Definitely, I think it is very, very important as well.
and would you agree that the impact and the importance of the ethical is very, very high? However, the ethical is quite abstract. It's very difficult to define and measure unless we actually seen it, isn't it? To refer that, it means we're not going to be able to see and monitor until we see all the news it happened overnight, and then everything it come about that this company are unethical, and so it's just very abstract and very difficult to measure, isn't it?
Actually, I probably don't think so. I think ethical is something that we get trained all the time. Everyone in the organizations. how do we need to treat, how do we talk with, our vendors, our suppliers, our customers, and so on and so forth. So I probably can't comment on the right side of the slides, like unexpected risks that could break the companies, because I don't do risk management. But but actually, I think one of the things that the salespeople are very mindful about, and we're very conscious about it, is what we say and what we promise, and terms and the contracts. Yeah. So that's all that I probably can comment on the risk management side.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. The risk management ethical aspect should be with every department and should be a good practice, if you like, in each team, isn't it? In order to
I I would I would believe so.
yeah.
I would believe so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very
I
much.
think I think I think it should be
Yeah.
because it's ethics. Yeah, it is ethics, and it's something that it's a code of conduct, as we call it. So I think it has to be big in everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree on that. And I think considering the time, maybe would you mind going to the last section, which is the finance? Understand that you not directly work or manage the finance of the company, but in general, sale is
Mhm.
pretty much the biggest drive for the finance of the company, if you like. So if you don't mind, that I could just take it as the last section that we talked today.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, I need to end at 4:45 before my girls' meeting starts, because I'm in the same room. I don't want to, disturb her call.
Understand.
Yeah, so I can quickly do this with you, no
Yeah,
problem.
so if you talk about the funding, right? In terms of the funding of finance, would you mind that I can
Mm.
get the top five aspects of the funding and finance, please? So we have profit and cash flow and working capital and growth revenue and return
Mm.
investment.
Okay, sure. Okay, I can't speak on behalf of the finance team. I would probably give you the view again from the sales, like what is important. I mean, to the sales, the profit is key.
Yeah,
Um, the revenue growth rate is another one that is, I would probably say, number two. Um, and the return on investment, um, it's number three. Yeah, and cash flow and working capital is really finance stuff, so I would probably just rate it lower, because I don't deal with cash flow and working capital.
yeah.
Yeah.
Would you put cash flow as a fourth item and working capital is a fifth one?
Either way, because I mean, yeah, I it doesn't really, I mean, it doesn't come to my division. I mean, or whether the sales don't really look into that too.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I may just a pause that you have to go in these few minutes, but I'd like to thank very much for your time. And may I ask for your perspective that working in big corporation like yourself, it seems to be
Mm.
every department are structured. You have sufficient resources, you have sufficient time, and finance doesn't seem to be a big issue for your company, as you know you are a multi million, if not billion, of the company in the size. Um, have you ever worked with a small startup or smaller company, and would you see the differentiation between a small startup and a big corporation like yourself in terms of the fund management?
Um, Unfortunately, I have not worked with smaller companies
Yeah,
or a startup. I wished I would have that opportunity one day. But yeah, most of the organizations that I've been to
yeah,
are actually pretty large. I wouldn't know, I mean, how is exactly their finance are structured, but I'm really hoping that, yeah, all the companies that I've been, or the one that I am, it's sound and good.
yeah,
I would think so. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just to answer your question, I have not worked for any of the startups, so I can't really give you the differences, unfortunately.
do you have like a pressure from the company in terms of the sales department is the biggest department to make money for the company? Do you have like a pressure from the company that you are a big part of financial? Is it work that way in the big corporation?
No, I don't think it is a pressure. I think it's what we, I mean, as a sales, we kind of like committed to it, that this is what we say, it is our KPI. Yeah, meeting your numbers. And actually, numbers is just one of the vehicle. I think it is more like, okay, this is your KPI. You gotta make sure that you cascaded to what the company's goals are. Work towards that goal. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I'm not sure about the rest, but yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't call it a pressure.
It's so amazing. I mean, your company, I couldn't be more pressure to have opportunity to interview you. And I'd like to thank you so much for your time, Jenny. It's a fantastic, it's valuable feedback from yourself who is very successful in your career
Oh no,
in
don't mention. Yeah, and it's not. I mean, I'm just one of the sales engine. Yeah, thanks for having me, though. I mean, yeah, it's. I hope my personal experience actually, give you that insight and help you in your research.
Yeah, I like to thank you so much again, and so have a great time and enjoy your time in Singapore after COVID restriction, if you like.
Yeah, look forward to it next week. Thank you
Yeah,
so much,
thank
Fawn.
you
Yeah,
so
we should
much,
catch
and
up
take
again. Yeah.
care.
Okay.
Keep in
All
touch.
right. Have a
See
good day.
ya. Bye. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.